Wait, Martin's here, isn't he?
He's here.
Oh, I go, I'm not reading this thing.
Okay, you are live, Mayor Hudson.
Okay, I've called to order the city council meeting, the regular meeting in closed session for March 22nd. Before the roll call, the city attorney has an announcement.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Assembly Bill 361 suspends certain provisions of the Brown Act, allowing public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference in order to help prevent spread of COVID-19. I'll ask the mayor to recognize me afterwards to confirm certain matters for the record.
Thank you. Conduct the roll call, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Here.
Councilmember Perkins, it looks like has not appeared yet. Councilmember Zafar,
Here.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Here.
and Mayor Hudson.
Here. Recognize the city attorney.
Thank you. And based on responses to the roll call, the record should reflect that all council members can hear the proceeding clearly. And based on, if there are no objections, the record will further reflect each council member believes, based on voice recognition, facial recognition, or otherwise, that persons representing to be council members are in fact council members. And seeing no objections, I'll turn the meeting back over to you and remind you that all votes must be taken by roll call.
Okay, thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's get on to item 3, announcements. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda tonight?
There are none this evening.
All right, item 3.2. If you wish to speak on a public comment or regarding an agenda item, please click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken on the agenda item. You will then be unmuted when it is your turn to make your comments for up to 3 minutes. After the allotted time, you will then be remuted. Okay, item 3.3, board committee commission meetings. A complete list of upcoming meetings may be found on the city's website at www.sanramon.ca.gov. Subscription service is available at the link for automatic meeting notification. Contact the city clerk with questions 925-973-2539. Okay, we're down to, where are we? Oh, I'm reading too many things too fast, too quick. Let's go to public. Item 4 is public hearing redistricting. All right, gosh, we're moving right along. I have this as an introduction by a city attorney, Martin License, and then Michael Wagaman. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you.
Martin, you're up.
Okay, and I just want to make sure that we've promoted both Robin Johansson and Michael Wagaman. It looks like Robin is up. I don't see Michael. Well, in any event, I'll get us started. Good evening again. I think everybody knows the drill by now, so I'll be brief. Tonight is the big night. It's the 4th and last of the required hearings before the council can choose a new district map. As described in the staff report, the state deadline to adopt a new map is April the 17th. So again, tonight we'll have Michael Wagaman to guide us through the draft maps, including the 5 maps the council considered at last month's meeting, along with 4 additional variations on, I think, Plan Green as requested by the council. We also have Robin Johansson with us tonight. And Robin, as you may remember, was our outside counsel when we first set up the districts back in 2019. She's joining us for this meeting in case we have any technical questions that come up during the selection process. So before I turn this over to Michael, I'll just go over the last steps that we need to take. First of all, hopefully the council will be able to decide on one of the maps before you tonight. Once a map is selected, then we will need a meets and bounds description of the selected map. That will be generated by Michael, and we will add that meets and bounds description to the resolution adopting the map. So tonight, we'll be asking the council to open the public hearing after Michael's presentation, take public testimony, close the public hearing, and then after deliberation, adopt a motion selecting one of the plans, and then directing staff to bring a resolution for adoption on April 12th. This will be the resolution that includes the meets and bounds description and the selected map. And that will formally adopt the selected plan as the new district map. And the resolution will go into effect immediately on adoption on April 12th, in time to meet the deadline of April 17th. And with that, if there are no questions, I'll just turn this over to Michael and we'll begin the selection process.
Sounds good. Michael, you have the floor.
And I'll put up the PowerPoint here just to kind of quickly remind everybody, including members of the public, where we are in the process. As was noted, this is the meeting to select a plan. I will go over those revised plans that were created based on the last meeting, but as a reminder, we have all of the plans available to you should you want to go back and look at any of those. In addition, if there is any plan that is close but not quite there, we can do the live line drawing process and make those final changes this evening, again, so that we can prepare a resolution for your final adoption before the legal deadline in mid-April. This has been an ongoing process. As you know, I'm sure you're very happy to have it almost be over. And unlike the last process, you'll be done for 10 years. So you'll have these lines back in place versus having to come back in a few years. As a reminder, these are the criteria under state law that govern the redistricting process. I won't go over those at length, other than just to remind you that as you're looking at the available plans, thinking about which one is your preferred one, this is a good way to kind of frame those discussions about, I like this plan because it did a good job with understandable boundaries, or I don't think this plan did as good a job with communities of interest, or whatever that may be. As a reminder, because of the demographics of the city, we did have to look at the Federal Voting Rights Act and avoid vote dilution where required. And that's something we did look at for all of the plans that are before you this evening. And you do have, as was referenced, outside counsel present if there are any questions about that. At the last meeting, we had the public plans that were submitted along with the plans that I originally created. There was general consensus around the green plan with some areas where there were still some open items and discussion. And that is what you will see in the plans I'm about to show you. Before I show those though, however, for members of the public, all of those plans are on the city website, and under state law, all of those plans will be available for 10 years. So if somebody in 2025 wants to know how these lines were put together and what the process was, that'll be available to them. With that, we'll switch over to the interactive software you've gotten to know and love. And what you see before you is in the black lines are that green plan, and the blue lines you see there are the existing district boundaries once they were adjusted for the annex that happened a few years ago. As a reminder, the green plan made 3 changes, one between the boundary of 1 and 4. This was in part to accommodate changes to census geography. Similarly, changes in this area, again, in part driven by the fact that we had to conform to that census geography. And finally, this change here between districts 4 and 3, where district 3 was overpopulated and district 4 was underpopulated to balance the population between the 3 districts, or between the 4 districts. With that, I'll turn off the current boundaries and leave on the green plan and should walk you through the 4 variations that were created. The first is the Emerald plan. The Emerald plan only makes 1 change, and that is a change you see in all 4 of the variants. And it was in the boundary between districts 1 and 2 to use Coyote Creek as the dividing line, which is something you see there. Again, you're seeing that in all of the plans. There are 2 other places where in the plans you see changes made. I'll walk through those. If you don't want to make either of those changes, that's the Emerald plan. If, however, you want to make additional changes, one of the areas that was talked about was the boundaries between districts 2 and 3 in the area that was annexed subsequent to the original districting process, and whether to use Doherty Road or to use the creek as the dividing line. And that's what you're seeing there as that difference between the Emerald plan and the line plan. So if you want to just make that one additional change to use the creek versus Doherty, that's the line plan. The olive plan continues to use the Doherty as the dividing line as under green, but looks at the other area that was discussed, which is whether the line could be cleaned up between districts 3 and 4 and use slightly more understandable boundaries in that area. And that's what you're seeing here, where Branch and Sherwood are now the dividing lines, and some of these areas here and here are shifted, where basically you're following along the back of Live Oak Elementary and using that as the district boundary. I will note I tried to shift this entire area into District 3, and unfortunately it started causing District 3 to be too large, which would have necessitated other changes, which also then started raising some federal Voting Rights Act issues. So if you wanted to make the change, leave Doherty as the dividing line, but clean up some of this boundary area in Windermere, then you're looking at the olive plan. If you wanted to make both changes, which were to use the creek and to make the changes in Windermere, then you get the pine plan, which is what you're looking at now. So really, assuming you want to keep with the direction from the prior meeting, which you're not bound to, using the green plan as that kind of foundation, then you're really down to kind of 3 decision points. 1, re-verifying that you want to make that change along Coyote Creek. 2, this decision about Doherty versus the creek. And 3, do you want to make these changes in Windermere? And once you make those 3 decisions, you have a plan. If there are additional changes we want to make, again, we can do that through the live process. The one other thing I will note here, and you're seeing now, again, the green plan on the screen, is that with whatever direction you give this evening, whichever plan you select, do ask that you include that, allow the opportunity to make any technical, non-substantive adjustments that move no population. The reason for that is, as was referenced by your counsel, we're going to go through and create what meets and bounds, which are a verbal description of the districts. Go down Main Street until you hit the creek, go north until you hit First Street, then take a right, that kind of a thing. And when we do that process, sometimes we can find that there's just easier ways to just slightly tweak a line that move, again, no people, but just make sure that we are using those understandable boundaries, which are one of the criteria. So just making sure that reference that particular point. With that, Mr. Mayor, again, as with the previous meetings, I will stop my share screen at the moment for any public comment, but at any point, I can bring these up and we can switch between maps based on your direction.
Yeah, well, I'll just start with, are there any clarifying questions of staff or Michael Wegman? And let me get my participants up here. I don't see any of our panelists with a question, so I would at this time entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Do I have a motion from the council?
I move the motion.
Motion,
Second.
Vice Mayor Veros, seconds, Sabina Zafar. Any questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, can I have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes, 5-0. Let's move on. Public comment is open. If you wish to speak under public comment on this item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone. When it's your turn to talk, we'll call upon you by name if provided. Remarks are limited to, well, I have a grand total of nobody applying, so we'll say 3 minutes. Is there anyone at this time that wishes to speak to public comment on the redistricting? I'll ask one more time. I see no one. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Perkins.
So moved.
Second for Rose. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's 5-0 also. So we are on to adopting the color, and we have a wide range from pink to blue to green to emerald to lime to, who wants to start this off? All I could say is I'm really sorry that I missed this discussion at the last meeting. Councilmember Perkins.
I just want to reaffirm the change to move the boundary between 2 and 1 to move it down Coyote Creek. It makes a lot more sense to move it down the creek than down a road. You don't split a neighborhood one side to the other, and it moves a few people out of 1 and into 2 without violating the Federal Voting Rights Act, the California Voting Rights Act, and all the others. It just makes sense. Thank you. That's my comment.
Okay, and I believe we had Councilmember Armstrong. You wanted to speak? I'm trying to find him on here.
Yes, okay.
And then for Rose. Okay.
So, yeah, my preference, if we're going to the point where we're talking preferences.
We are.
My preference is the Pine plan. I like the adjustment there with Coyote Creek, as Councilmember Perkins just mentioned. To me, it has a very understandable distinguishing terrain feature, the creek as the dividing line between 2 and District 3. And to me, the changes over between 3 and 4 seem to be simpler to me as just, you know, I don't live in that area. I don't get over there that much, but it seems to me that's an easier way to describe that boundary than the line plan. The only other thing I would say, and it won't matter for tonight, but I'd still like one day, and maybe that's many years from now, that we make the adjustment in that tract area on Canyon Green area. I guess we can't split that up and clean that up at this point, but it just seems over in the Canyon Lake, yeah, that's it, right in there. And it just seems that that's just out of place, but that's just a comment. Otherwise, I would, my recommendation is for the Pine plan as indicated on the map on the screen right now.
Okay, we've got one for Pine. We still have green up. Vice Mayor Burrows.
Yeah, I would go with the olive, especially because of the cleanup on the District 3, the round circle. Thanks for taking care of that so that it is not zigzag. People were getting confused a lot. So this helps. So my favorite definitely is olive.
Okay, I'm trying to look at those if we do that. What the heck? Quickly, what is the difference between olive and pine?
Difference between olive and pine
I
is
see
the
it.
division between 2 and 3 and whether you're using Doherty or the creek.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
just to make sure. So here, the line for the District 3 in Pine goes into the creek, right?
Correct. This is following the creek boundary.
Oh, okay. So sorry, I just got a little bit missed with that boundary line. So actually, Pine is the one which is my.
Okay.
Mark.
Pine's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, we're looking at 2 Pine. Council members Safar.
Yeah, Pine's the one that puts the boundary line along Doherty, right? So that's the one I liked as well. And I think it just generally cleans up that area around.
Just
4
as a
and
point
3.
of correction, Sabina, I think that's the one that doesn't, Olive did Doherty. Pine does the creek.
I like Pine as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, go ahead. Let's stay with Sabina for a minute because I cut her off.
No,
What do you
say
think?
it. Yeah, I'm just looking at these. So which one puts it along Doherty?
Olive.
Okay.
Is that correct, Michael?
Yes, and I'm just
This one.
verifying we don't have an error anywhere in the materials, but this is make sure we're representing on the screen. That is the decision
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Doherty versus Pine.
So, okay, just to make sure.
Doherty
you
versus
Pine.
Creek, I apologize.
Yeah.
So you highlighted right now Pine, right?
Yes.
So right now you're looking at the Olive plan, which
Olive.
is using Doherty. The Pine plan uses the creek. So this is the difference in this area.
So I think you wanted Olive as well, Sridhar?
That's
That
right.
uses Doherty, right? Yeah.
Creek,
I think
the creek piece.
To me, the problem with using the
Road.
with using the road is you've got people that literally are living on one side of the road in one
Exactly.
district and the other opposite side of the road living in the other district. But if you use the creek, everybody that lives along Dougherty Road is in the same district.
That's right. That will avoid a lot of confusion. So that's.
Yeah, so if you're living along Dougherty Road, you're all going to be in District 2.
True.
And the creek separates, this is the area where Golden View is, and this is the area where Bella Vista. But you see, Bella Vista is on the east side of the road, but a lot of the people live on the west side of the road that go to Bella Vista. So you got
Yeah.
all of the Carmelita, and you got half of the, or a little more than half of of Lexington live on one side, and Serena
Okay.
and Cordoba and the school are on the other side. So if
Yeah,
you use the creek, all of these, which is Gale Ranch 4, live in the same district.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Okay, you still have the floor, Sabina.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense where, when we zoomed into it using the creek.
Okay.
So we keep people together.
Okay, I still have a bunch of hands up, but what I'm hearing is 4 votes so far for Plan Pine. And that would mean we need to have a resolution or we are adopting MAP Pine Plan, and the motion would be to continue to April 12th and direct staff to bring back a resolution for approval at that April 12th meeting. Is that what I'm hearing from everybody? It sounds like we've got a unanimous decision so far. Is that the case? I see a hand up, but I don't see the hand. Who is it? Oh, I'm sorry, Sridhar.
Oh, no, that's the previous one.
Okay, so if that's the case, I'd be looking for a motion to adopt. Plan
I'll move
Pine.
we adopt Plan Pine and ask staff to bring forward the resolution and all accompanying documents associated with Plan Pine.
Okay,
You can second.
okay, that's a
let's make-
motion from Perkins and a second to continue this item to April 12th and bring back a resolution for council approval at the April 12th meeting, formally identifying the district boundary map selected by this council with a map and description of the new districts attached. Is that, I'm just reading it off of what staff has there. That's what we have, a motion and a second for.
Yes.
Any further discussion? I'm trying to look to see if Martin is ready to admonish me for moving too quick on this. Man, did I get out of this easy? That's all there is to it. One color and bam, we're gone. All right.
Mr. Mayor, just to verify, that would include any technical corrections when we create the meets
Absolutely.
amounts that don't move any population. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes. 5-0. We got new districts in next month's first meeting. Okay, see, whoops, wait a minute, what happened? Where'd I go? Launch meetings. I disappeared.
Don't get our hopes up.
There, you guys got rid of me for a minute. All right, we're back to public comment. At this time, the public, let's open public comment. At this time, the public is permitted to address the city council on items that are on the consent calendar, including a request to pull an item from the consent calendar and the reason why. Request for future agenda items, special presentations. We have one tonight. You wish to speak to it, and items that are not on the agenda and are within the city council's jurisdiction. Let me put up the participants. We're going to have one so far, two. If you wish to speak under public comment on this item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9. We'll give you up to 3 minutes. We're up to 4 people. Let's start with, well, we lost one person. Okay, how about Charlotte Lane? Charlotte, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you. I just want to make sure this is for public comments.
This is for public comment.
Okay. Hi, thank you for letting me speak tonight. I wanted to talk to you about the animal services agreement that has been sent out to all of the 18 cities. The issue with this new agreement is there is an increase in funding, but it does not outline any additional services or much above the bare minimal services for animal services. The increased fees should also outline increased services. We are eager for the cities to come together to create a revised agreement that is not vague and it spells out the actual services the cities will be receiving. We will be reaching out to all the city managers in hopes of setting up a meeting to share our concerns with the agreement and what animal services the community needs to be considered in this revised agreement. In May of 2020, Animal Services reached out to all the cities asking for additional funding. And at that time, all of the cities denied the increase in funding per capita. Then in September of 2020, the Animal Services reduced many of their services. One of them is the actual field services. Field service officers decreased from 16 to 10, reduced its operating hours, reduced its on-call coverage was eliminated. It also stopped all wildlife calls, and it referred it to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. However, they are not able to take these calls due to having 4 officers for 4 counties. All wildlife calls were referred to the California, like I said, California Department of Fish and Wildlife. So now how it is if a deer is hit on the side of the road or any other wildlife, that wildlife will sit there until they die and struggle. And it's inhumane. And the citizens don't have anyone to call. So they try to step in and help, and many times at injury and risk to themselves. The other thing that Animal Services stopped was transportation to Lindsay Wildlife Hospital. Before, if there was injured wildlife, Animal Services would come out and transport those wildlife to Lindsay Wildlife. And now other animal services in different counties continue to bring the wildlife, but our county is not doing that any longer. They also they actually stopped low-cost spays and neuters during COVID. They just reinstated it, but at a fraction of what they used to do. My concern is, again, we do need additional funding for animal services, but this agreement needs to be a fair agreement and outline what we are getting for these additional fees. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have Ivana L.
Thank you, San Ramon City Council and the staff for taking my phone call tonight. My name is Ivana Lobos, and I am a tax-paying citizen in Contra Costa County. I'm speaking tonight about the rise in canine distemper, an often fatal viral disease that is highly contagious among some mammals. Additionally, it appears to be spreading at a high rate within our wildlife population, which in turn is a threat to our domestic dog population. As a dog guardian myself, my dogs receive their distemper, parainfluenza, parvovirus, and rabies vaccines when scheduled to protect them and the dogs they interact with. Not everyone has the transportation or financial means to keep current with their pets' medical appointments. The rise in backyard breeding for profit also plays a part in the rise of distemper as well as other diseases. Canine distemper can be prevented or greatly reduced with a simple vaccine, and veterinarians are urging all dog owners to make sure their pets are up to date on shots. Until recently, Contra Costa Animal Services had closed its low-cost public spay, neuter, and vaccine clinic, putting the full brunt of services on the very few nonprofit rescue groups or the average citizen like myself. These taxpayer-funded services have since reopened, but only for 4 owned animals per day on select days of the week. The wait list for these services is at least 3 months long. In the meantime, it seems that Contra Costa Animal Services has been planning for each city in Contra Costa County to pay extra in per capita city fees to offset the cost of these taxpayer-funded services that they are required to provide, but had been cut. This includes the addition of more field officers to respond to citizen calls of loose animals, hurt, sick, or dead animals. I ask the City Council not to sign any contract provided by Contra Costa Animal Services until they're able to come to an agreement on the services that need to be provided to our city. Together, the city, county, and constituents will find a common ground. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Joyce Carr?
Hi, just a minute of your time. I believe it was at the last city council meeting, there was a gentleman who spoke about putting a child care center on San Ramon Valley Boulevard. It was called Primrose Child Care Center. And he gave the address, I believe, as 18080 San Ramon Valley Boulevard. And that address was familiar to me because I've been following along on 5G, and I believe that there's going to be a pole put at that address on San Ramon Valley Boulevard. So I don't think it's been finalized or anything like that, but there was a plan to put a pole there. And I was concerned, of course, for the children and for the parents who might see that pole there after they had gotten their kids into that childcare center. So I was just wondering if someone could check that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Call in user 1.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just want to say that pulling out consent agenda item is a right per the Brown Act afforded to the public to force the public to only pull out consent agenda item during public comment, which is scheduled for on-agenda items, is illegal practice, and it's a violation of my right per Brown Act, and I condemn that. So please restore proper meeting order that to allow special agenda pull-out time for consent agenda and also public comment. I would like to pull out consent agenda 6.11 and 6.12, and I do not need to give you an excuse for why I need to pull that right now. It is my right to pull them, and please allow me to pull. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa Fulton.
Hi, good evening. My name's Lisa Fulton. I live in Contra Costa County, and I'm here today to call your attention to the proposed services agreement between Animal Services and the cities. Really concerned about this agreement because of all the services that it excludes. Yet it's wanting to increase fees, which is fine. Animal Services, all agree, needs the funding. But please take a look at this agreement. It's very sparse. It's bare bones. There have been many programs that have been excluded, including the response to live wildlife calls, which it's heartbreaking if you've been on the ground and you've seen a deer hit by a car and left to die on the side of the road. It could take a day or more. We really should be doing better by our wildlife. Also, as a cat rescue person who is to trap, neuter, release of colony cats, community cats is what we call them. There's a population explosion right now, and there's so many kittens out there, and people are just resorting to horrible means to address, so to speak, this problem with population explosion. So what I'm asking is that Animal Services step up and provide us with increased spay-neuter surgeries so that we can get a handle on the cat population explosion situation. They used to have a pretty good volume surgery schedule, but now there's like a 3-month wait to get in. And in 3 months, we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of more cats on the streets. And it's really heartbreaking. I know not everybody can walk down the block and see cats begging for food, but in the communities where I trap, in the poorer communities, one just has to walk like 3 blocks and then you'll find another colony of cats, and you're like, oh my goodness, how am I going to deal with this? It's really, we're overtaxed, and not overtaxed, but Anyway, there is a group of us cat rescuers out here who I believe we've emailed your office. Please reach out to us if you need ideas on how to make this agreement better. We are so willing to sit down and talk with you guys and give you some ideas and present other agreements that provide adequate services, mandated basic vital services to the community regarding animal services. Okay, that's all I for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Annie Wright.
Annie Wright has an old version of Zoom, so I have to promote her as a panelist.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. I'm Annie Wright. I'm also very concerned about animal welfare in Contra Costa County, both of our domestic animals and our wildlife. I've been a lifelong Contra Costa County resident. I'm a rescue worker. I've been really involved with community cats. There's a huge overpopulation of them for various reasons. These cats are homeless, they've been abandoned, and we're going backwards now in time with the success we had achieved in previous years. And I believe it's a huge part is because of the lack of services with our animal shelter. And I have read this new agreement that went out to the 18 incorporated cities. And it is astonishing that there is such minimal services that they're just not addressing what the community needs. And that is the low-cost spay and neuter vaccination clinic. It's now on that agreement once a month. So this is very concerning for the welfare of animals and people that, maybe that are not so financially able to just go to a vet and get these services. I don't know if you've checked, but a spay and neuter is between $400 and $800 at some vets. It's just amazing. So what I am proposing is that we kind of rethink how we take care of our communities and our animals. And let's listen to the people here that have been actually on the ground doing the work, the nonprofit groups who, without them, we would probably be like a third world country with our pet situation. In some cases there are, because there's things like upper respiratory condition that cats get, and they can have serious eye infections that they end up losing their eyes. And this is something prevented with the vaccination. I mean, you just look on Nextdoor and you'll see when there are just so many animals, not just cats, but dogs being abandoned. That escalated when the Canal shelter closed. Then that was during COVID. It kind of just snuck through and people were grieving losses of loved ones. We were trying to just survive. And this has been a real hardship for our community. And it's just very upsetting. So the people here that are the animal advocates, the rescue people, we do have lots of information that could be helpful. And I really want to encourage you to listen to your citizens' needs, speak with other city managers. I'd love to sit down and, we could have a Zoom meeting. I'd love to speak with the city manager. Let's try to work together with kind of the concept as a village to take care of the needs of the different cities. And let's protect the animals that have brought so much comfort to us during these really trying times. And I don't know I don't see a timer. How much time do I have?
You're at it.
Oh.
I thought you were wrapping up, so I didn't say anything.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much, because I don't see that timer, but I do appreciate it. I do feel that you actually were listening. Appreciate that. And I'm really willing to talk with you again. So thank you.
Thank you, Annie Wright.
Thank you. Have a great meeting.
You too. I don't have any other attendees that wish to speak. Do we have any written public comments, City Clerk?
Not for this item.
Okay, we'll close the public comment. Councilmember Perkins, you're muted.
I'd like to ask the city attorney, if a resident refuses to tell us why they want a a consent item pulled, must we pull the item or can we approve it without further discussion?
That is completely at the council's discretion, whether or not to pull an item. So if you may still ask that person if they are willing to give a reason that they want to pull it. But again, it's totally at your discretion.
And before we go to consent calendar, I would ask that I would like to know if that 5G poll has been approved at that childcare. At the very least, people should be aware that it's there. Scott, you have something else? Did I cut you off?
No, I agree. We want to know. We don't
Okay.
need to necessarily know tonight, but we
No.
do need to know.
Yeah.
And we should make sure Ms. Carr gets the answer as well.
Okay, thank you. Consent calendar items are considered routine and are acted upon by the city council as single action. Okay, members of the audience wishing to provide public input may request by email to the city clerk or under item 4 at the public comment. Consent calendar items are 6.1 through 6.12. There was a request to pull 6.11 and 12. As noted, there was no reason given. So I would ask, what is the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, before we get to that,
Yeah.
I did get a request from staff to pull item 6.8 so that staff can correct a typo for the record on that item.
Now, do we do this before we make a motion, or do you want to do it as a separate deferred? Is staff asking to make the correction or just pull it and make the correction? We won't act on it tonight.
No, you can pull it and act on it tonight.
Okay,
Okay, with that, I will
be a deferred consent item.
okay, go ahead, Scott.
I will move items 6.1 through 6.7
Yes,
and 6.9 through 6.12.
okay.
And
We have a motion. Did I hear a second from?
yes, second.
Second from Vice Mayor Burrows. Any further discussion? Now, this does not include 6.8. That'll be coming under deferred. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins, you are cut off. Can you?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Safar.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Burrows
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes, 5-0. Special presentations. Oh, we always love these. Okay, we have a recognition of National Library Week, April 3rd through the 9th. The introduction by Parks and Community Service Program Manager Brad Morris. Dina, are you still around? Okay, Brad, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Hudson and City Council. It's wonderful to be here this evening to introduce the next agenda item, which is a proclamation recognizing April 3rd through April 9th as National Library Week. To accept the proclamation on behalf of the county is our Senior Community Library Manager, Dina Hollywood. And unfortunately, as Mayor Hudson indicated, well, unfortunate for us, fortunate for Dina, she's getting to retire. So this is her last week and she'll be retiring on Friday. The county has announced a replacement. Francis Aldibola Wilson will be the new Senior Community Library Manager for San Ramon, and he'll be starting April 4th. And we are truly going to miss Dina and all the amazing things she did for the San Ramon Library. So it's great that we're able to give this proclamation to her on her last week here with San Ramon.
Gosh, I wish I had it yesterday. Anyway, I'm sure you promoted Dina and she'll have a few words to say, but I have a proclamation from the City Council of the City of San Ramon declaring April 3rd through the 9th, 2022 as National Library Week. Whereas libraries are accessible and inclusive places that foster a sense of connection and build community. And whereas libraries connect people to technology, providing access to broadband internet, computers, and trainings that are critical for accessing education and employment opportunities. And whereas libraries offer opportunities for everyone to connect with new ideas and become their best selves through access to multimedia content, programs, and classes, in addition to books. And whereas today's libraries and their services extend far beyond the four walls of a building, and everyone is welcome to use their resources. And whereas in times of crisis, Libraries and library professionals play an invaluable role in supporting their communities both in person and virtually. And whereas libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve and ensure equity of access for all. And whereas to adapt to our changing world, libraries are expanding their resources and continuing to meet the needs of their patrons. And whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions for all members of the community. And whereas libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all. Whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of San Ramon does hereby proclaim April 3rd through the 9th, 2022 as National Library Week and encourages all residents to connect with their library by visiting online or in person to access resources and services. Congratulations, Dina. Gosh, you look familiar. Didn't I just see you?
Thank you very much for coming to the retirement party yesterday. And I want to thank you, Mayor Hudson and City Council members for recognizing National Library Week 2022 and accepting our proclamation.
Thank you. Okay, anyone from the council have any comments, Scott?
Hey, congratulations to Dina for her retirement. You served very well our community. It was a pleasure working with you as a commission liaison for library committee in the past. Once again, congratulations and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Scott and then Sabina, then Mark.
Well, thank you very much, Dina, for being our librarian for these past few years. We have had a run of really great librarians, and I'm sure that the Francis will do a fabulous job as well. But thank you very much for all you've done and helping our foundation be effective and making our library such a great place to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sabina.
Just want to thank you, Dina, as well for your service and being a librarian for such a long time. Really appreciate it and everything you've done. And just, you know, I'm so glad you're here to receive the proclamation. Again, libraries are so important to the fabric of our community, and being able to recognize this as Library Week, you know, is awesome. And thank you so much.
I so appreciate the support of all of City Council for all that you've done for the library. So thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Dina, I've only had the privilege of attending a couple meetings with you over the last few months, but I really wish you the best in your retirement. And I tell you, the library system has come a long way from the days when a lot of us were using the old Dewey Decimal System with the cards and all that. And it's such a kind of a so many different options to tie in automation now and everything else. And just a wonderful system. So thanks for bringing this proclamation to our attention, and I wish you the best in your retirement.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Bradley.
Yeah, I just wanted to, the county wanted to do a quick little recap on their annual report. If we have a couple more minutes, Dina was going to do a quick little presentation to round it out. So thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, so the theme for this year's National Library Week is Connect with Your Library, which promotes the idea that libraries are places to get connected to technology by using broadband, computers, and other digital resources. But libraries also connect people to others and to their communities. Next slide. As the world continues to navigate the pandemic and the many ways it impacts our lives, the library continues to rethink traditional library services. We've added more ebooks and e-audiobooks to the collection and reached just over 1.5 million digital checkouts last year. We also saw huge increases in the use of online newspapers like the New York Times, the East Bay Times, and the Wall Street Journal. Next slide. To support our communities, the library added open hours at 17 branches last year for a total of 121 extra hours per week. Thanks to the city of San Ramon, the San Ramon Library has opened the maximum number of hours offered by the county, which is 56 hours per week. The city also provides for 6 additional hours per week at Doherty Station for a total of 46 hours per week. Next slide. We've offered a wide variety of online programs for patrons of all ages. We're working on a plan to bring back in-person programming by the summer and should have more information about that very soon. Next slide. These are some of the programs that were funded by the San Ramon Library Foundation. The first number on the slide reflects how many people participated during the original presentation. The second number is how many people watched the recording of the program on our YouTube station. You can see that many adults prefer to watch the program from the comfort of home and at the time that works for their schedule. Next slide. Several branches are serving lunches or providing meals or produce boxes to the community in partnership with their local school districts. Next slide. In an effort to support families who may still be working and schooling from home, we introduced lendable Wi-Fi hotspots, Raspberry Pis, and 9 new digital resources. I do want to mention the Get Set Up one is for seniors, and it has some really nice things like how to use Zoom, things like that. So they're worth checking out. Next slide. Until we restart in-house programming, the San Ramon and Doherty Station libraries stay connected with the community, particularly children, by offering monthly take and make kits or I Spy challenges or scavenger hunts. We've had programs to promote getting outdoors as a family by promoting Cornell Lab's backyard bird count and of course the story walk in Central Park. Next slide. And so do you have any questions?
Do we have any questions from the council? I think they've pretty much spoken out. Thank you, Dina. I mean, I don't know if it's so much that we're going to miss you as I'm envious because you're taking off and it's, I know you got trips and stuff planned you're not going to tell us about, aren't you?
I won't hold up your time now, but
That's
anytime.
what I thought. Okay,
Take
there's
care.
no council action on this time. Thank you so much for all the years of great service. We're going to miss you. And we look forward to you coming back and speaking under public comment and letting the council know they're not doing enough for the libraries or whatever. Anyway, we are moving on to deferred consent calendar item. That's 6.8. I want to let the one attendee know I did see their hand. We only do the public comment for proclamations. If you do wish to speak, there is a second public comment coming up. This is for item 6.8, which was pulled from the consent calendar by staff. So I would ask for the staff report on 6.8. Who has that one? Where am I?
That will be me.
That would be me, Lauren Barr. Go ahead, Lauren.
All right. Thank you for pulling this item. We had a couple corrections. This particular resolution is a contract amendment and appropriation associated with our consultant contract for housing element general plan and EIR updates. The revision in front of you relates to some additional CEQA work that's being required, some additional traffic analysis, as well as additional climate action plan data analysis on our inventories. On the second page under the action items where it says, now therefore be it resolved, this is packet page 109. The appropriation amount is incorrect in the text. It should read as 126,642 rather than 62,642. And likewise, in the second, now for it to be further resolved, it should read as, again, 126,642 for a total contract of amount not to exceed 1226321. So again, it's the appropriation and contract amendment amounts were incorrect in the resolution.
Okay, with that correction, any discussion by council? Motion Perkins? Perkins?
I'll move resolution 2022-037, authorizing the mayor to execute amendment 1 to the agreement with Mintner Harsh to prepare the updates to the housing element at all and others.
Okay.
That's as
Second.
Holy cow, I got all kinds. Who was the second? Was that Martin?
That was me. Just to clarify, that's as correct.
As amended by staff.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I heard Councilmember Zafar in there for a second. So we have a motion Perkins, second Zafar. And is there any further discussion? I don't have any other hands except yours, Scott, and I think that was just the motion. So I would say roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burrows,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes. Okay, we're on to city council
Thank you.
appointments. Somebody said something?
Thank you.
Oh, you're. Lauren says, thank you. We have an Arts Advisory Committee appointment and a staff report by Kathy Hyman. Kathy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure to be here this evening with 3 different appointments for our various committees. So we'll start with the Arts Advisory Committee. So as you know, the Arts Advisory Committee consists of 7 members and 2 alternates. Currently, there are 4 vacancies consisting of 3 regular members and 1 alternate. The city clerk announced the vacancies. Notices were placed on the city website and in city facilities and distributed through Nextdoor. 4 applications were received and the candidates were interviewed, and the Parks Commission recommends the appointment of Tiffany Ashley Turner, Mohammed Ranjbar Sadehi, and Satyakala Jarjumila to serve as regular members, and Venkata C. Chintapalli to serve as alternate number 1 on the Arts Advisory Committee with terms to expire in March of 2024.
Okay, any comments or questions of staff? I'll ask if there's anyone in the public that wish to speak to this item. I don't have any hands. Seeing none, public comment is open. One last time, public comment is closed. The matter is. Move Savar. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
No, I'm sorry, Scott put his hand up first. So we have a motion Zafar, a second by Perkins. Any further discussion? And it is for appointment of Ashley Turner, Mohammed, is that Ranjbar Sadagi and Satyakala Charjumili as the regulars through March of 2024, and Venkata C. Chintapalli to serve as the alternate expiring in March of 2024. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burrows,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes. 5-0 again, we're rolling. Library Advisory Committee appointments. Kathy, you got another report.
Yes, here we go again. So the Library Committee consists of 5 members and 2 alternates. Currently, there are 3 vacancies consisting of 2 regular positions and 1 alternate position. We announced the vacancies, notices were placed on the city website, city facilities, 2 applications were received. The candidates were interviewed, and the Parks Commission recommends the appointment of Cindy Alpert and Richard DeWath to serve as regular members on the Library Advisory Committee with terms to expire in March of 2024.
Okay, any comments, questions of staff, of council before I open public comment? Seeing none, public comment is open. Do I have anyone who wishes to address this item? It's 9.2, the Library Advisory Committee appointments. Seeing none, the public portion, do I have any written? Christina, I see. Go ahead, Scott. We'll close the public comment. Go ahead.
I'm just going to move that we appoint Cindy Alpert and Richard DeWath to serve as regular members on the Library Advisory Committee with terms expiring in March of 2024.
I can second.
Okay, now we got the opposite. We got a motion Perkins and a second Zafar. They're taking over the meeting, Kathy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barros,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes.
Thank
Let's
you.
get on to your third report, the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee appointments. Kathy Hyman, staff report.
All right, the Senior Citizen Committee exists of 7 members and 2 alternates. Currently, there are 4 vacancies consisting of 3 regular members and 1 alternate. City clerk announced the vacancies. We advertised, placed on the city website. We received 4 applications. The candidates were interviewed by a committee of the Parks Commission, and the Parks Commission recommends the appointment of Joan Ernst, Wayne Mortensen, and Richard Adler to serve as regular members, and Velda Lee Chick to serve as alternate number 1 on the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee with terms to expire in March of 2024.
Okay, any clarifying questions before I open public comments? Seeing no hands. Public comment is open. Is there anyone wishing to speak to these selections? I see no hands. Is there any written, Christina?
Not on this
Seeing
item.
Seeing none, public comment is closed. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move appointment of Joan Ernst, Wayne Mortensen, and Richard Adler to serve as regular members, and Velda Lee Chick to serve as alternate member number 1 on the Senior Advisory Committee with a term to expire March of 2024.
And is that a
I can
second,
second.
Armstrong? No,
Oh, did
not
I?
fast enough.
I just-
Second, Sapar. Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barros,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes, that's 5-0. Unfinished business. We're on to 10.1. That's a resolution 2022-42. Gosh, we're
Can
at
I make
it.
a quick comment?
Yes, you may.
Just wanted to say thank you for everybody who's applied and will be serving on these committees and giving their time to the city.
Yes, very well stated. Thank you very much. This item that's before us now is declaring results of the majority protest proceedings and renewing the San Ramon Valley Tourism Improvement District. So Stephen Spadowski, I believe you have the floor. You're giving a staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of the council. The item before you this evening is the public hearing declaring the results of the majority protest proceedings and renewing the San Ramon Valley Tourism Improvement District. As you may recall, this process started back in January 11th of this year with the resolution of intention to conduct a public hearing. A notice was mailed to all affected property owners on January 13th, 2022. And then on January 25th, we held a public hearing. So this evening, the public hearing process is the final step in the process, and staff recommends that the City Council conduct the final public hearing, declare the results of the majority protest proceeding, and adopt resolution number 2022-042. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Okay, so there are no clarifying questions at this point as I'm looking up for hounds. So I do need a motion to open the public hearing. If I'm correcting this correct. Well, it says here that I need public comment, but that would be part of the public hearing, I believe. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I move the motion.
All right, Sridhar, I'm proud of you. You got in there ahead of those two. Motion Barros, second.
Second, I can second.
Zafar, all right. Any clarifying questions or comments about our staff report? Seeing none. Can I have a, and I know what I'm gonna get, but can I have a, now I know why you wanted public comment. Martin's gonna tell me I was supposed to open that before, but go ahead. Any clarifying questions? I'll do it afterwards. Seeing none, let's do the roll call vote.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
thank you. Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barros,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes.
Thank you.
So the public hearing is open. I do believe, still go back and ask if there's any public comments on this. I don't believe we have a problem with that during the open. I thought so. I got the nod of the head. Public comment is open on this item. We are talking about, we're on 10.1, I believe. To look backwards. Is there anyone from the public who wants to speak to this or wish to speak under public comment? You raise your hand or hit the *9 on your telephone. It's your turn to talk. We will call upon you by name if provided. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes. I'm dragging this out to see if anybody wants to discuss it. I don't have anybody with a hand up. Is there any written comments on this, City Clerk?
Not on this item.
Okay, we'll close the public comment. No, I don't look so bad. The matter is before the council and the open here or in the open public hearing. Is there anyone that has any comments or questions on Resolution 2022-42? Seeing none. Is there a motion?
For the motion?
Yes. Okay, Shadar has a motion to approve Resolution 2022-42, declaring results of the majority protest proceedings and renewing the San Ramon Valley Tourism Improvement District. We have a motion motion for Rose.
Mr. Mayor.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Before we get to that, I don't think that results have been declared at this point, and I think the city clerk would declare those results, and then you can accept those once they happen.
Okay, I gotta wait. Christina actually has to tell us. Go ahead, Christina. That's why the hand went up.
The city did not receive any protests from the businesses that will be assessed. And I do need a motion to close the public hearing as well, please.
Okay.
I'll move
to have a
to close
motion.
public hearing.
Motion Perkins.
Second.
Second Zafar. You guys are tough. This is a tough act to follow.
You can close the public hearing and do it all at the same time if you.
Okay, now we're gonna do it this way. The motion's cleared. Next I need is a motion to approve. Now that, oh wait, we need a vote.
We need a vote.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
roll
so
call,
another
please.
quick question. It
Go
says
ahead.
staff report by Stephen, so that's going to come after we close the public hearing? Why am I reading under unfinished business? It says staff report by Stephen Podowski? No?
Yeah, he did it.
Done it.
Okay, that was the
Yeah, we're
report.
moving so
Okay.
quick tonight, it's done.
That was the report, okay.
Yep.
I'm like, is there going to be more?
No, these things are exciting, no doubt about it. Okay, we have no further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Perkins and a second from Councilmember Zafar to close the public hearing.
Correct.
Thank you. Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes, that's 5-0. Now I need a motion to approve the resolution. Do I have a
I can
motion?
move it, yeah.
The
I just
motion
get
from
such
Zafar.
lively
I second.
presentations from Stephen that I'm like, that's it from Steve?
That's it. That was all there is. And you did it so perfectly that Vice Mayor Barros jumped in there and got the second. Any further discussion on this? I'm getting rummy at this point. Okay, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes, that's 5-0 also. On to 11.1, new business, the Library Advisory Committee Annual Report. We're bringing back Brad Morris to introduce the presentation by Kyle Levy. Brad, are you there?
I am.
Good.
Mayor, City Council, thank you very much for having me again today. We love our libraries, so we'll take every opportunity to talk to you about them.
Mhm.
This evening, I'm happy to present to you the Library Advisory Committee Annual Report. The Library Advisory Committee has been very busy this year, helping the city and the county navigate this busy year, helping us through the pandemic with our library services. The Library Advisory Committee has done a great job under the leadership of Kyle Levy as our chair. So without stealing too much of the committee or his thunder, I'm happy to introduce to you Kyle Levy, who will be presenting to you the Library Advisory Committee Annual Report for 2021.
Good evening, Kyle, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor Hudson, and thank you, City Council. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Kyle Levy, as Brad introduced me. I am the current chair of the San Ramon Library Advisory Committee, and I'm here tonight to present our 2021 annual report. So without further ado, next slide, please. So the Library Advisory Committee consists of 5 regular members and 2 alternates. Most of us are featured in that picture there. Myself, Vice Chair Rita Chakrabarty, member Cindy Alpert, Not pictured is member Kathy Gilchrist, member Rocio Ross, alternate Dinesh Govindaro is pictured there, and alternate Gomez unfortunately was absent from that meeting. There's also a couple of other familiar faces there, our Parks Commission liaison, our Teen Council liaison, and council members Perkins and Armstrong. So a nice bunch there, and unfortunately, since we're not all in the picture, some people just never learn the lesson if you can't miss school picture day if you want to be in the yearbook. So next slide, please. So now that you've learned a little bit about who we are, maybe I should tell you a little bit about what we do. So the charge of the committee is to make recommendations to staff, the Parks Commission, the county library officials, and the City Council on the delivery of library services within the city of San Ramon. In order to do that, we receive and evaluate input from the community and also provide that input as members of the community. We act as a liaison for library issues to other governmental, nonprofit, and private organizations. We serve as a resource and an advocate for the city on library issues, and we review county library policies and provide the county's input on policies for the San Ramon libraries. And at our meetings, which are held quarterly, we receive regular updates from city staff provided by Brad Morris and from the senior community library manager, Dina Hollywood, who I'm just going to take a moment here to acknowledge on behalf of the advisory committee her service to the libraries in San Ramon, to the people of San Ramon, to all the guidance and advice that she's provided to the committee. We really appreciate it. We wish her the best, and we're going to miss her. So that out of the way, next slide, please. In terms of our goals and objectives for 2021, we had set 7 for this past year. Some of these are recurring items that are happen on a regular basis. The first is the Library Advisory Committee will monitor the retention and use of the library performance standards or library performance metrics, which are outlined in the city's general plan 2035 update, which we did receive an update from city staff and from the senior community library manager at our April meeting about those metrics, and we provided some feedback. The second goal was the Library Advisory Committee will continue to evaluate library services to ensure San Ramon's libraries services meet and respond to the community's evolving needs. Again, at our meetings, we received updates from Brad and from Dina throughout the year, updating us on the status of library programs and events at the libraries in San Ramon. Next slide, please. The Library Advisory Committee continued to monitor the progress of the Contra Costa Community College District construction plans related to building a library at their San Ramon campus and the impact that the new facility will have on the overall library offerings to the community. We did receive updates throughout the year regarding the status of construction of the new community college library at the San Ramon campus. They did open in November of 2021, so some of the effects of that are still filtering down, but we did monitor that situation over the course of 2021. Next slide, please. The Library Advisory Committee continued to monitor the Contra Costa Library Strategic Plan implementation in San Ramon. As I said earlier, we received updates on that from staff and provided feedback during the course of the year. The Library Advisory Committee will also review and approve the story walk stories presented by the Youth Services Librarian, who I believe is Elaine Pedley. I'll just say that this is a charge of the committee that we really enjoy doing. Being able to actually review children's books as a homework assignment is a lot of fun, especially for those of us who don't have children. And to be able to provide the story walk in Central Park for the community, it's a great service, and we think it's very, very nice that the city offers that to the public. In 2021, we reviewed and approved the books They Say Blue, All Are Welcome, Calvin Can't Fly, the story of a bookworm birdie, and Hank's Big Day, the story of a bug, which is currently in the Central Park at the Story Walk. So we really enjoy that and enjoy being able to provide that service. Next slide, please. The Library Advisory Committee evaluated the current layout and offerings of the Doherty Station Library and made recommended changes as the library will no longer be serving the community college population. That ties back into the earlier item about the new community college library at the San Ramon campus that has freed up some space for Doherty Station to shift what it offers to the rest of the public and to potentially put that space to new uses. So we received updates during the year from Brad and Dina about that and provided feedback, and that process is still ongoing, and I assume at our next meeting we'll probably get a further update on that. The Library Advisory Committee will evaluate and provide feedback on the transition from front door services to metered services. That was a big deal in 2021. Due to COVID, obviously, the libraries have been closed to the public in terms of being able to go in person. And so front door service was essentially the only way that people could access library services for some time. So we were really happy to see that transition back to in-person services in the library, metered services, and we appreciated being able to provide feedback on that transition. Next slide, please. The committee will monitor the retention and use. I'm sorry, let me transition here. Goals and objectives for 2022 for this year. So the Library Advisory Committee will monitor the retention and use of the library performance standards or library metrics. Like I had said earlier, that's sort of a recurring goal of ours that we're always on the ball on. We'll continue to evaluate library services and provide feedback. We'll monitor the new library's impact on the overall library offerings throughout the community. Next slide, please. We will continue to monitor the Contra Costa County Library Strategic Plans implementation in San Ramon. Again, something that the committee does on sort of an evergreen basis. We'll continue to review and approve the story walk selections that are presented by the Youth Services Librarian. And we'll continue to evaluate and provide feedback on the transition from online programming to COVID-safe in-person programming, which is something we're very much looking forward to. I believe, as Dina said earlier this evening, certainly the plan to transition to in-person programming hopefully by the summer. And I know the advisory committee is very eager to see that process and to help make sure that that kind of gets back to the community going forward. Next slide, please. The Library Advisory Committee will visit the new community college library during different times of the day, log what they observe, and recommend ways to encourage the community to better engage with the space. This is a somewhat unusual goal because it requires field trips on the part of the advisory committee, but we felt it was really important, especially with a new facility, to be able to sort of get the lay of the land for ourselves, see how it's being utilized by the public, what the volume of that usage is, check out how it's being used at different times, and to be able to kind of provide better informed feedback to the committee, to the city's libraries, the Parks Commission, et cetera. So we're looking forward to that in this year. And then we will also encourage Library Advisory Committee members to be ambassadors for the libraries and attend at least one library event or program per year in San Ramon and provide feedback to staff. This is something that the members of the committee feel is very important to be involved in other organizations in the community and to promote library services through them. I myself am a member of the San Ramon Library Foundation, so I like spreading the word that way. I know other members of the committee feel similarly, and we're really looking forward to be able to actually attend library events and programs this year in person and to provide feedback from our observations to staff. Next slide, please. That concludes the 2021 annual report presentation. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them, and I really appreciate your time. And I just would also like to say we on the committee appreciate how much support that this city gives to its library services and the importance that it places.
Are there any questions, clarifying questions before I open public comment? Sridhar Varos.
Hey, Cal, thanks for presentation. I have a question regarding our Doherty Station Library opening and open timings. I remember 2 years back, just during the COVID situation, we came up with a plan to close the library on Sunday and Monday in order to address with the hours of the staff, to reduce the hours or to accommodate with our budget. So do we have any plan on revisiting it? And because now it's a post-COVID, and I know the community college library is open, but still, do we have any plans on revisiting the about that closure of Sunday and Monday?
Sunday and Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can take that, Kyle, if you would like.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so we're always analyzing the usage of our libraries and what's the best use for our community. And so we're constantly looking at that, getting feedback from the community in regards to that. We really haven't gotten a good sense because of COVID, kind of that action that's taking place on that campus. We do have the community college library open, so that's there. We've also seen a lot of use in our community center on Mondays, which is great. So we're finding a lot of the kids after school are hanging out around the community center or in the community center. So at this current time, we don't feel that there's a need to bring back that Mondays, but we're always looking at it. And if the opportunity presents itself, we'll, look at bringing that forward to the council.
Okay, thanks, Brad.
Sabina?
Hey, Kyle, thank you so much for the presentation. So somebody had asked me about the jazz program at the library. Would you like to share a little bit more?
I can say through the San Ramon Library Foundation that it is happening. They are moving forward with plans to resume jazz performances through the program at the library. I don't believe the advisory committee has really checked in on that since for this past year it was essentially defunct, but it's something that we're looking forward to in this coming year.
Thank
you. And I can add, the foundation does the jazz concerts. So they are starting back up in April. They have one on April 9th and then one again on April 25th. Those are both Saturdays. So it'll be the evening shows. And then of course we are really excited about our jazz content that's in the library that helps support that. So that's driven by the county as well as the foundation. And they have a great jazz collection, which feeds off of that. And while we're on the jazz theme, if you're ever at the San Ramon Library, we have our art gallery is displaying jazz photos from a local photographer who's taken some great pictures of jazz concerts and musicians performing. And so it's a really nice display. So if you ever have time, feel free to walk across the street and see the gallery. It looks really nice with the jazz photos on the wall.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay. Any further questions for open public comment? Seeing none, public comment is open. If you wish to speak under public comment on this item, please raise your hand or dial *9 on your telephone. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person. I don't see any attendees with their hands up. Are there any written comments that we've received? And we do have copies of these comments which will be made, which we don't have any of. Is that correct, Christina?
Correct.
We normally have them with the city clerk. Okay, public comment is closed. It's a matter of discussion. Any further comments from the council? Wow, everything's rolling along tonight. Thank you, Kyle. There's no action that we need to take other than thank you for a job well done. This is a big library theme tonight, especially with Dina leaving. And we really thank you for the job you're doing. This city has a long history of doing. I have total one phone call in listener. What does that mean? Nothing? Okay. We have no action taken. Again, thank you for this evening, and we will move on to 11.2, which is the minute order.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
No, you're
Thank you
quite
so
welcome. We're on 2022-9. That's the 2021 General Plan Annual Report from Ryan Driscoll.
Good evening, Mayor Hudson and council members. Give me just a moment while I share my screen. Okay, this item is for the 2021 General Plan Annual Report. Just a moment. Too many screens. There we go. So the General Plan Annual Report is required by the State Government Code and the City General Plan. It provides the implementation status for the General Plan policies for the 2021 reporting year. It also provides the Biennial Climate Action Plan or CAP report for 2020 and 2021 reporting period, and provides a summary of the state required housing element annual progress report or APR. It has to be submitted each year by April 1st. Some of the key efforts, the city began, as you are aware, the multi-year general plan update project, where we're updating all the general plan elements, climate action plan, and other relevant topics. The city approved the first development plan as part of the City Walk Master Plan for the Belmont Village Senior Care Project. That was at Bishop Ranch 1A. The city approved a couple entitlements for 2 housing projects within the San Ramon Village specific plan. The city also approved the City Village Development Project, replacing the Bishop Ranch 6 office development with housing in a 2-acre park. The city is continuing to implement the below market rate or BMR homeownership program. We've selected 22 BMR homeowners for occupancy of a total of 28, eventually 28 BMR units in the preserve development, which is formerly Faria. The cities began the process of purchasing, acquiring, and reselling one existing moderate income below market rate unit at the Park Central development and converting it to a low income BMR unit with a perpetual resale restriction. And then finally, the cities began construction on the Emergency Operations Center at the 2401 Crow Canyon Road building with a joint public safety facility between police and the fire district. This slide provides a summary of some of the housing element annual progress report numbers that we provide to the state. In 2021, there are 701 housing units that were entitled or approved in the city. There are a total of 289 housing units that were issued building permits, and those include the accessory dwelling units, Doherty Valley, and the preserve areas of the city as shown here. And there are 166 housing units that received final building permit inspections in the ADUs, accessory dwelling units, Doherty Valley, and preserve areas of the city. This is the regional housing needs allocation progress report table that we actually provide to the city. This is for the current fifth housing cycle. It's the 8-year period from 2015 to 2023. And I've highlighted in red, the red box, the 2021 reporting year, and it shows the 289 housing units that have been issued building permits. And then this breaks it down into the very low, low, moderate, and above moderate income distribution for those units. So the Climate Action Plan, I want to give a little bit of background. The Climate Action Plan was adopted in 2011. It identifies local measures to comply with state climate legislation and greenhouse gas reduction targets. And the Biennial Climate Action Plan report, as part of this general plan annual report, provides a qualitative summary of local activities to implement and support the policies to reduce those greenhouse gas emissions. So it's important to note that climate topics do remain important to the city. The city has adopted the air quality greenhouse gas general plan element as part of the general plan. And the Climate Action Plan is one of the implementation tools of that element in the general plan. And lastly, the Climate Action Plan policy direction and progress monitoring continues to remain under the purview of the City Council. So for the Biennial Climate Action Plan report with this general plan annual report, I wanted to list some of the significant accomplishments. A lot of these, they're not just in the last a couple years reporting period. Some of these are since the adoption of the general Climate Action Plan. The city joined Marine Clean Energy, MCE, as the default energy provider for residential commercial properties in the city. The city has adopted a number of property assessed clean energy or PACE programs. The city continues to implement recycling waste diversion programs. There's a number of reclaimed water pipes throughout the city. There's a requirement for new development to comply with the State Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance, or MELO, standards for new development. There's a requirement that new development comply with building code energy efficiency standards. That's related to Title 24 requirements. There's a continued emphasis on new solar and electric vehicle infrastructure. The number of solar building permits continues to increase in the past few years, every year. And there's over 250 electric vehicle charging spaces in the city, including private and public facilities. There's a number of LEED certified developments in the city. There's an increased emphasis on bike and pedestrian infrastructure. As evidenced recently in the past few years, there's been the bike master plan that was adopted, and the walking district that was in the current year, this year. And then finally, new growth and development continues to be within the city core as a vehicle miles traveled reduction strategy. So separate from the report here tonight, the city is going through the Climate Action Plan update, which is a part of the general plan update that I mentioned earlier, and that's continuing through this year, 2022. And it is focusing on scenarios to identify local climate change and greenhouse gas reduction strategies and measures to meet the future state and local reduction targets for greenhouse gases. It will also assess the feasibility of those strategies, the ability to track those strategies over time, and the general cost implications of those strategies. This update to the Climate Action Plan will also identify the city's long-term path towards carbon neutrality based on the city's local conditions and needs. And also, it's important to note the update will include an updated greenhouse gas inventory, which will be a full technical analysis of the effectiveness of the past climate action strategies and ensure consistency in reporting those strategies in the coming years. And so all this will be part of a public review process with the general plan update as we continue to review that general plan update with this climate action plan update throughout 2022. So the next steps for this would be for staff to submit it to the state by April 1st. So I'll turn it back over to the council.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Any clarifying questions before I open public comment? And can you pull down the packet so I can see what's there? We go. Okay, it will start with Councilmember Perkins and Vice Mayor Veros.
Ryan, the 250 EV charging stations, private and public, you're only counting the ones that, while they may be on private property, they are available to the public, as opposed to ones that are buried in somebody's garage.
Oh, correct. Yeah, that does not include private within garage, private residential.
So like the ones over at City Center or the ones over behind Petco, those are on private property, but those would be included in your 250. Is that right?
Right, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure you're in contact with MCE to discuss with them what portion of San Ramon, we're at over 90% participation, and our current, we are greenhouse gas free at more than 90% greenhouse gas free for our electric generation right now. The few hundred that are with PG&E, they're still at about 31% greenhouse gas free. So the people that are on, and by the way, MCE is cheaper than PG&E. The combined cost of the elements on your electric bill, if you're with MCE, your electricity is cheaper and cleaner.
Yeah, I can add a comment to that.
Question.
I can add a little more information too. There was a note in one of the implementation updates that with MCE, there's about a 50% decrease in the greenhouse gas reduction emissions for those MCE customers versus if they were on PG&E.
Okay, Vice Mayor Veros, go ahead, Scott. You're finished. Good. Vice Mayor Veros.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm looking at Hackett page 282 regarding Dottie Valley approvals. Could you please share that? Our present.
Yeah, hold on just a moment. 282.
282.
That one.
Yeah.
This slide, correct?
That's right. Thank you. So on your column 2021 building permits, right? So those 185 multifamily, 10 single family, as well as the remaining ones for the Dottie Valley. If I remember right, this is a part of our final phase of Dottie Valley annexation permits, right?
Yeah, that's correct. The 185 multifamily units that were issued in Dottie Valley, that's actually all entirely part of Deer Creek Senior Apartments, and that's the south side of it. So those will, they're just starting construction. Yeah, and then there's some single family homes that were issued, 10 single family homes, and then there's the majority of those are in the final phase of Gale Ranch area.
So are we expecting any more additional upcoming, or is this the final one?
No, there's very few left. Yeah, I don't want to say this is completely it, but there's very few left to be built in Doherty Valley. So I would expect that the 185 multifamily would probably be the last to be finalized.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions before we open the public comment? Seeing none, public comment is open. Let me get down to where we're at. If you wish to speak under public comment on this item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone. You've got 3 minutes to speak. I have one speaker calling, user number 1.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have 2 questions for Mr. Driscoll because I didn't hear the answers to these 2 questions in his presentation. Number 1 is, if the 250 charging stations are not included in the private garages, and the private garages in the future development will have these charging stations, did the city update any fire hazard policies and protocols? If there is a electricity charging induced fire, do you put out the fire by pouring water? Or is there some sort of chemicals or special way of putting out these fires? I never hear any reports regarding the climate policies that are imposed on us by the staff addressing safety issues. This has to stop. I am sick and tired of the government telling us what to do, and they do not care about the safety and life and properties of people. This is wrong. My next question is, what about training of workers? We know for a fact that a lot of our construction workers are actually illegal immigrants, and they are just hired on. Sometimes, God knows, they could be pulled out of Home Depot's parking lot to build. I don't know if you guys are qualifying workers who need to install these special electricity lines and wires also for the illegal immigrants' life. Their lives matter. I need to know if you guys are taking care and addressing people's lives and properties. Without addressing these protocols and trainings, I have no confidence in these policies, and I request this council to postpone on affirming these resolutions or whatever, and tell the staff to please come back with more complete reports before you pass them blindly. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other attendees? I don't see any. Any written comment on this item? Christina, where'd you go? You moved off my screen.
No comments.
No comments at this time. We'll close the public comment. Again, it was the question asked by, I believe, Member Perkins, the 250 are from the public, and not going to get into what the fire department's policies are. That's their bailiwick. Council members of FAR.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Ryan, for really explaining the climate action plan update and including that as part of your update and all the details you've been providing. We've had public ask us about it. I know I've asked about it, and I appreciate that update as well.
I think that's a good point. I mean, it's changing so much. I got a meeting tomorrow, and I sent the copy of what we're going to be voting on at the Air District about the climate action plan and some of the things expected from people. And a lot of it's going to be highlighting around natural gas is becoming a thing of the past in California. We're going to be having all electric appliance there will be a ruling on that. But in any case,
You know, David, regarding that, you can, you know, legislate like I believe Berkeley has and a couple other cities. They've legislated against any new natural gas construction.
Mhm.
But the sad part is you need a more robust electric infrastructure in order to support that. I mean, you can shut off the gas, but if you don't have electricity, then it becomes this problem. Now, I must say that I'm proud of what MCE is doing, that all of our new power purchase agreements include a very substantial storage requirement. Our last one was a 100 megawatt power purchase agreement with a 75 megawatt, a 25 megawatt 5-hour service storage. So they will put 25 megawatts onto the grid for 5 hours. And in the future, we will have 8-hour storage systems so that they will be built bigger, which allows when the sun goes down, because right now solar is darn near free. But if you got a PSPS or, you know, a power safety shutoff, electricity goes away. You get a tree falling across the branches near power pole near your house, presto, you're out of electricity for how many hours? Fortunately, we're working towards a more resilient power grid. MCE is also working with PG&E to have what we call microgrids. And so when the PSPS comes, it affects a smaller and smaller and smaller number of people. So we're working towards that as well.
Yep. And we're on top of it. Okay, we're looking for a motion to adopt minute order 2209.
I can move.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott, you're too slow. We have a
I'll
motion
second.
from Zafar, a second from Perkins. Any further discussion? Thank you all. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barros,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes, we're on to 5-0. That is a 5-0. We're on to 11.3. And this is resolution 2022-43. You can read the authorizations. We have a staff report by Kelly Sessions, our Administrative Service Director. Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. It's good to be with you tonight. Let me do a quick screen share and we will get through this agenda item. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Very good. So this item is to authorize hiring our current police chief, Craig Stevens, as a Calpers retired annuitant to the position of interim police chief. As I'm sure you are all aware, we are sadly losing our police chief to his retirement. His last day with the city will be this Friday, March the 25th. And in order to maintain operational efficiency and ensure public safety, the staff felt that it would be prudent to hire interim leadership. And we've done this in the past. For instance, when our administrative services director, our previous administrative services director, Eva Phelps, left, she was hired back as a retired annuitant. State law allows local agencies such as the city to hire retirees, which we call retired annuitants, back under certain conditions. And the city has met all of those conditions and therefore would like to extend temporary employment to Chief Stevens as a retired annuitant. So what are the conditions in order to do this? Number one is that state law limits the ability of Calpers retirees to actually come back to work in Calpers agencies. And one of the ways they do that is by requiring a 180-day wait period before you can be hired back. California Code of Regulations, Section 579.25 specifically exempts public safety officers from that requirement. Another requirement is a limit to work no more than 960 hours in a fiscal year. We are meeting that requirement. Also, the city council has to certify that the annuitant will not be receiving a golden handshake. So in other words, the chief, when he leaves, he's not going to get any kind of special payment or retirement incentive or anything of that nature. The council has to certify that you have authorized a search for a permanent replacement, and by approval of this resolution, you will be doing that. We also cannot pay the retired annuitant any more or any less than the published salary range that is on the city website. Additionally, we have to agree not to provide any other pay or benefits beyond his salary. So as a retired annuitant, the chief would not be able to earn any kind of medical insurance or have money set aside for his retirement or paid into his pension. It's strictly limited to the salary that we pay him. We also need to state the term of the employment. Calpers is most interested in ensuring that this is only a temporary interim assignment. So his agreement would be from the first day, his first day back to work as a retired annuitant would be March the 28th, that's Monday. And this would expire August 31st, 2022. And lastly, this approval needs to happen by the governing body, by the city council in a public meeting. So therefore, be it resolved, this is what our resolution states. All these conditions have been met. Staff recommends that the city council authorize the city manager to appoint Chief Stevens as a retired annuitant to the position of interim police chief until a permanent replacement can be transitioned in, starting on Monday, March the 22nd, but not extending beyond August 31st, 2022. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, any clarifying questions before we open the public comment? Gosh, when it does this, everybody disappears on me, it seems like. All right, I have no clarifying questions. Public comment is open. If you wish to speak under public comment on this item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone. I have one speaker that wishes to comment. Call in user 1.
First of all, I am really, really sad that we're losing another great staff who happens to be white. And there is an attack of white Americans in this country, especially in this state. It is unbecoming, it is un-American, and I'm sick of it. I'm hearing it in county, in city, everywhere at the school district. All the good white employees, they're still young, they're still white. I don't know why everyone is retiring. There has to be something at the policy level that is driving these competent people to retire. And now, even I'm sort of glad that we're hiring Chief Stephen back. It's not fair though that now he's being hired back without medical, without proper contribution to his retirement. This is wrong. This is just another form of discrimination. This is so sad. I am so embarrassed, Chief Stevens. Even though I'm extremely happy that you get to work until August, I want to apologize to you that, we're hiring you back with a lot less. I'm so sorry. And I also am very concerned that the new chief is going to be another diversity hire. that is not going to be as qualified, that is going to be a woke police chief, and that our city is going to be ridden and infected with a bunch of crimes that, now our entire police force is just going to become corrupt. I am really, really sad. So sad. So sad.
Okay. Thank you, Joyce Carr.
I'd like to congratulate Police Chief Stevens on his retirement. I'm happy for him, and to thank him for all that he has done for our city. San Ramon is such a safe city. And thank you so much, Police Chief, and congratulations, and enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. I have no other hands under the attendees. Do I have any written comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. It's up for council discussion. I'll ask each member. Mark, you've been kind of quiet over there for a while, but you can come on after. No, you can go first. Then Scott.
Well, I would just like to say congratulations to Chief Stevens. Leadership is really important. So he's been at the helm of the police department and done a great job. It's a key position. This resolution makes sense. I'm excited that we're able to keep him on board for a short while as we look to hire a replacement. I'm confident we can find a highly qualified replacement quickly, but this will go a long way to ensuring that we continue a high level of service from our police department and maintain good public safety. What a way to go out with San Ramon being recently designated as one of the safest cities in California. So thank you, Chief Stevens, for all that you have done. And I think this resolution is the right thing to do to provide that continuity, and look forward to seeing what we can do with the hiring process. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, then Sabina.
Yeah, I think Colin User One doesn't understand that he gets all of his retirement benefits associated with his medical and all the other retirement benefits don't go away just because we get this hire. And Chief, you deserve a lot of the credit for pulling this police department together after the last police chief. No, he did a great job too. Mostly.
I was going to take this shot. That's
okay.
You
were well. Go ahead. The last police chief did pretty good. He was okay.
Dan?
But Chief Stevens did a fabulous job. We were so lucky to have him. And I looked at those statistics that were put out there by I think it was SafeWeb. If you looked at the populations of those cities that were slightly safer than us, and by the way, we're talking about hundredths. In the hundredths place, 0.06 versus 0.07 kinds of numbers. For cities over 70,000, we were third in the state. So, San Ramon really is a safe place to live. And every now and then you get somebody who says, well, I'm going to leave San Ramon. I always want to ask them, so where were you going to go that's better? And it's really hard to find a place that's better than San Ramon, and the safety record and the chief of police have a lot to do with that. So, Chief, I don't even know if you're on.
Yeah, he is. And he just snuck in. We should have let the sleeping dogs lie. He's got to wait. Now go ahead, jump ahead of everybody.
All right.
City Manager Gordon.
Oh, there he is. Okay, that's my comments. Chief, we've had a great run with you, and I'm so glad you were here to follow the previous police chief.
Let him have his moment first, guys. Go ahead, Chief or City Manager.
Well, I just wanted to let everybody know, certainly you can give him some accolades here, that I'm not trying to prevent that, but we will send him off appropriately and present him to the council when he does. He has graciously accepted my the pleas that he would stick around until we replaced him. And as you know, we have a major renovation at the police department that he is also knee deep in. And so upon my request that he stick around to get his replacement and get that part of the project done, he was willing to do so. So I just want to let you know that when that time comes, when he actually does leave, we'll bring him before council and send him off the right way.
I've been at those. Watch out. Sabina.
So Joe, are you saying to hold our praises that we're going to sing?
Oh, no,
for the
no.
chief?
I'm sure he's loving every minute of it right now. So you're welcome to give him some congratulations right now as well.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you. The 4 years that I've been here, you've been such an amazing partner. And I know it's been a very difficult time for your department in so many ways. We've done so much in the last 4 years. It's crazy. But really the feather in your cap has been, that this was the year that we had the lowest crime rate. So you're retiring with that, and, unless somebody comes and beats that next year. And really the support you offered over the weekend, for the two teenagers and everything that we had going on in public and managing that situation, really managing some of the protests that happened last year as well. And you wore your police chief hat, but you wore your humble hat as well. And you went out of your way to put yourself out there in public to build partnerships. And that, truly to me, that showed your leadership in embracing the challenges and yet stepping up and serving the public. So really want to thank you for that. I told you, you don't look old enough to me to retire, but hey, if whatever water you're drinking, I'll drink that too. So just want to say thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor Burrows.
I would like to move the motion. I want to reserve my comments on the last day to give the farewell. So I'll move the motion, resolution number 2022-043, authorizing the exception to the 180-day wait period under Government Code sections 7522.56 and 21221 H and Title 2, California Code of Regulations sections 579.25 for the hiring of Calpers, Annuitant, and the temporary appointment of Craig Stevens as a Calpers Annuitant to the position of Police Chief of the San Ramon Police Department.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Burrows and a second from Councilmember Perkins. Any further discussion? I'm seeing, Scott, you still have your hand up. I would just say that, this city, gosh, I guess I've been with the city for a while, but we've got a pretty good history, a long history of having some very good police chiefs. When we went to our own police department in 2007, we started a history of exceptional police chiefs. And Craig is another one in a long line of it. I can't say enough, when the standard's 1 per 1,000 and you're doing it with 70 officers in a city of about 85,000, you're not supposed to be the safest or among the safest, but you do it year after year after year. It's kind of like the 16 consecutive years that we get the Defoe Award. Got to come up with a better acronym for that darn thing. But and that includes your predecessor, Joe, when you put Dan Pratt out there. I thought he did a great job also, and I know that the next one will do the same. It's just, we've been blessed, and I think that's the message the council's trying to send to you. So with no further discussion, let's take a roll call vote on that, and then I will ask at 9 o'clock if you want to take 5 minutes. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burrows,
Yes.
Mayor Hudson.
Yes, that's 5-0. And why don't we take 5 minutes and then we'll hit 11 for ever thrilling city manager reports and get into closed session. So we'll be back in 5 or 10. How's that sound? Okay, see you then. Hmm. Okay. Hey, we're back. Almost. Is that an almost back?
I'm back.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
We're missing, looks like Councilmember Armstrong.
Cool. We're pretty good. I think we're going to need you for a staff report, though.
Yes.
Can we bring us back? Are we back online and we can?
Yeah, we are live.
Okay, then let's get to 11.4. This is a resolution number 2022 next in line. We will be establishing fees and charges. Uh-oh. Martin's going to take me to the woodshed. I saw his name pop up.
I'm right here.
Yeah, okay. No, he's not. All right, I'm still okay.
You're
In
good.
charge, I am? Okay. For various municipal service for fiscal year 2022-23 and repealing resolution number 2021-58. So we have a staff report from Christina Franco.
Good evening. Before you this evening is the annual update to the city's schedule of fees and charges as listed throughout the staff report from each of the departments. Staff annually reviews the fees and charges as part of the overall budget process and makes recommendations related to the fees and charges to the City Council. This item was presented to the Finance Committee on March 7th of 2022, and the committee did not recommend any changes to the fees or charges. Since the Finance Committee, the staff has removed the all-inclusive special event fee from the Parks and Community Services Department fee schedule. And tonight we do have a presentation for this year's changes, and staff is here to present quickly on the various fees that they're proposing for their departments. So
Okay.
I'll go ahead and share my screen quickly.
Well, you can do it slowly if you want.
So the first fee proposed is from general government, and Alicia is here to talk about it.
Alicia, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I'm just here to present the change in the subordination fee. This is a service and that we're providing to some citizens who are asking for subordination of their loan when they refinance and so forth. This comes most of the time when our affordable housing units are, the property owners of those units are asking for a refinance. So it occurs when we have a deed of trust or security interest in such unit, and they're asking for the city to subordinate. So we are just recouping staff time expended. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't. I'm looking to see if I have. Let me pull my participants back up. Nope, I don't see any questions.
All right.
Keep on rolling.
All right. Thank you so much.
The next fees are from administrative services, and Debbie Chamberlain is here to present.
Good evening. I'm not wearing two hats. Actually, business licenses are processed by the Planning Services Division. And so tonight we're here to present our fee changes. And as you can see on the screen, we're proposing to increase the fee for small businesses by $25 for those licenses. The maximum fee we can charge is $200. And this fee covers the staff time to process the business licenses. And we will continue to subsidize those smaller businesses. And as I noted, the fee for the larger businesses remains unchanged. Next slide.
So any reason why we're increasing the fee for small businesses?
It basically is meant to be a cost recovery measure for staff time. Each business license takes about a half hour to 45 minutes to complete. And so even with that, we are not recouping our costs. And it's not a substantial increase, but it does help for cost recovery for staff time.
Okay. keeping an eye on it. Questions?
Moving on to planning services. Back in 2020, we conducted a user fee to determine what our hourly rate was going to be. The maximum rate set by that study was $243. We are here tonight to propose an increase from $200 per hour to $220 per hour. It remains under the maximum cap. It's applicable to the time and materials activities and deposit-based applications. And some flat fee adjustments have been made to relate to that increase in hourly rate. We also have a $20 increase to certain planning services fee for flat reviews for building permit applications. And per the existing fee study, there are certain fees that cannot be increased. Next slide, please. And so quickly, these are just some of the flat fee increases we are proposing tonight with that increase from $200 to $220 per hour. Next slide. And also tonight, as we do annually, we are proposing revisions to the existing impact fees that are eligible for increase. And we have two cost indexes that we base those increases on. One is the construction cost index for the San Francisco Bay Area. That increase this year is 8%. And the consumer price index for the Bay Area is 4.2%. And so all these impact fees increases are consistent with our 2017 Kaiser Marston Nexus fee study. Next slide, thank you. Building and safety services. So tonight we are proposing an increase from $160 per hour to $200 per hour. The hourly fee is charged when changes are made to approved projects or for re-inspections. And they also charge when a permit issuance fees remain unchanged and are based on the project valuation. And our fee increases align with the administrative inspection time required to complete a task. So we determine how long it takes to complete an inspection. We use the hourly rate charged by staff, and that's how we determine what that cost would be. And the hourly rate has not increased in over 3 years. Next slide. And here we are proposing some flat fees, more expensive fixtures and residential remodels, for example, may result in higher valuations. Some architects will value the cost of a more expensive faucet where others will not. And so what we've done is we set flat fees that basically reflect the plan check effort and inspection time, regardless of the value of the construction materials and finishes. So this will be a benefit to our residents. So someone who comes in with higher end furnishings or fixtures for the remodel will be charged the same amount as someone who comes in with lower end fixtures and furnishings for their remodel. Next slide. And so these are just a few of the flat fees we're increasing: doors and windows, bath remodel, etc. Final slide, Christina. So finally, we currently collect fees for solar heating and cooling photovoltaic installations, and our flat fees are set by California Assembly Bill 1414. They are now just being documented in the fee schedule and reflect the fees and calculation methods. And so with that, that concludes Community Development Department.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Public Works, and Brian Bornstein is with us this evening.
Hi, Brian.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. We have a few updates in Public Works, so I'll roll through those for all engineering, transportation, and public services, a few in each. Running with engineering services, the subdivision preliminary development review fee for better cost recovery, that is being increased to $200 an hour. There's a number of fees within the fee schedule that already exist where engineers and staff rate is $200 already, so this gets in line with that. It's also consistent with our review of various cities and charges. And this fee has not been increased since 2013. So next slide. Transportation services. So every year we have the construction cost index increase for all the transportation impact fees. No exception here this year. So we have the citywide traffic impact fees, the TIF fees, that will be raised 8%. Yeah, it's the big number this year. And also the SCC JIPA will be increased by 8%. On the next slide, the reason the Tri-Valley Transportation Fee, TVTC fee, is not being increased 8% because it's in the process of adopting the new Nexus fee study. That is targeted for approval by that board on April 18th. So once that's approved, then we'll roll that into the fee schedule and they'll have the update to that.
You got it just right, Brian.
Great, to get the right date and everything. Good.
Yep.
The next slide. Transportation services. This is a ditto of the engineering. Actually, oops, that was the slide. Next slide. This one is the transit center. There is no real impact to it. It's just bike lockers. We used to collect the money, take it all in, but now it's replaced by e-lockers and you pay through a Clipper card. So it's really taken the middleman in the city out of the equation. So we're removing that completely from our fee schedule. Next slide, which I got a little ahead of myself. This one's a ditto of the engineering, where transportation services reviews subdivision preliminary development review. Ditto with that, it'll increase from 150 to 200 for cost recovery. It also has not been increased since 2013 and is aligned with reviewing other agencies and charges and cost recovery analysis. And I believe the last slide is public services. There's a few increases there, just a touch. Staffing rates for field activities, regular, overtime, call out, all those rates are getting increased slightly. Between 136 an hour and 140 an hour will be increased to 139 and 144 an hour for better cost recovery. The last one is garbage tags and yard trimming bags. We're increasing those slightly. I believe it's like 31 more cents a bag, just to, again, cover inflation and other factors. So that really includes the public works fee increases. If there's any questions, we'll roll into the next department.
I don't see any question. Keep rolling.
And last is Parks and Community Services, and Kathy Hyman is going to bring us home.
All right, so we do have about 20 fees in Parks and Community Services. They were all reviewed by the Parks Commission, who recommended they be forwarded to you for consideration. Just some general comments for each of the fees proposed. We did do a fee analysis with the other local cities or cities with similar facilities to ensure that we were at least within the mid-range. Many of our fees are recommended to increase by 3.8%, which was CPI in the Bay Area in October of 2020. We've used that date for several years because it provides consistency for all of our user groups. They know if we're increasing by CPI, what that will be. And it is also anticipated that minimum wage will likely be increased again by $1 in 2023 in order to keep pace. Fees that relate to temp staffing are being recommended to increase to continue to cover those costs. So moving into our first fee, we would like to add an advertising fee for the performing arts brochure of $220 for a half page and $440 for a full page. We did not have a specific fee for this before. However, we were doing advertising. This just kind of does a cleanup for that. Next slide. We are proposing to increase our outdoor fitness permits by $1. These are the permits issued to fitness teachers for use of field or outside space in a park. This will just bring this cost in line with our other field rentals of the same space. Next slide. We are looking for an hourly rate adjustment for additional staff for special events. This increase covers the cost of the temp staff and full-time staff who might work a large special event, a rental for a nonprofit, such as like Durga Puja. In addition, the fees for supervisors and managers were removed, as generally that level would rarely work an event like this, and it would not be cost efficient for a nonprofit anyway. Next slide. We are suggesting an increase of fees for our street banner permits. So we are in the process of revamping the street banner program and need to increase the fees that were listed in the fee resolution to cover the direct costs of the banner installation by Sierra Display from $80 to $85. And we are also increasing the pole rental fee from $15 to $16. Next slide.
Kathy, where does that get Like, what is an example of the street banner?
The street banners you would see, like the Art and Wind Festival banners go up, or the holiday banners or lights go up. Those are all city ones, so we are covering those costs. But this is a program that was initiated years ago and only used a couple of times, where outside agencies or groups could use the polls. They have a long approval process to figure out what is appropriate and what is not appropriate and where they can go. And so the fees were put into the fee resolution several years ago and have kind of just sat there. And we have gotten the program now, so we are revamping it so that we'll be able to offer it again to the public.
The LPGA that,
Yes.
Kathy, with the LPGA, one of those things, but then we sponsored it, so.
Right.
Yeah.
The LPGA, the 150, San Ramon 150, they used it. So it's generally partners with the city that are approved through a policy and a program.
Cool.
So if we revamp it, we can kind of roll out the program and say, you know, if somebody would like to use that, okay?
Yes, that is the goal.
Discover San Ramon might want to use them.
Great example.
Arts Foundation, maybe.
Exactly. So we have a need to fix it, and we'd just like to get the fees so that we're at least recouping the direct cost.
Cool.
Okay.
Continue.
So we would like to add a new hourly fee for rental of the Walnut Barn at Forest Home Farms. We do have a 4-hour block fee, but this would just provide another option, which would be $70 per hour. And that would really benefit those people who just want to go have a meeting for a couple of hours there. We've had requests for it, and so we think that this will increase use of the space.
Good.
Next slide. So this is removal of room classification based on size. So currently in the fee resolution, we had small, medium, large rooms and grand rooms. And so what staff have kind of discovered is that each room is very unique, and some of them have been newly remodeled and should cost more to rent than those that don't have all those attributes. And so we're looking to kind of pull that back out, not do those classifications. And in addition to that, we are recommending increasing the Fountain Room and Bella Vista Room by $10 and the Russell Room by $5. Next slide. So this is an interesting one. So this is a recommendation to establish fees for the City Hall Rotunda. $3,500 for up to 10 hours for San Ramon residents and $2,500 for San Ramon nonprofits, only on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays after regular business hours are over. Staff modeled the plan after San Jose and San Francisco, both whom rent their rotundas. The City Council Policy Committee discussed this at length and asked that before we implement this fee, even though we would have it approved in the fee reso, that we define very specific policies for use and that those policies come back to the Policy Committee prior to implementing. The Parks Commission was also interested in being able to weigh in on those as well.
This is really great.
Next slide. We are recommending increasing fees for group picnic and aquatic picnic rentals by 3.8% and rounding to the nearest dollars. Rates for picnics depend on the size area you're renting and whether or not you're a resident, a nonprofit, or commercial rental. So the majority of our rentals are for residents, and the increase equates to, for a smaller picnic area, $4 per day to $12, and for non-residents, $8 to $20 per day. Next slide. So this is our amphitheaters. So we are looking to realign the Central Park Amphitheater rental rates and eliminate the $1,500 for 10 hours and add a $125 rate per hour for a minimum of 6 hours. And also to add the Amador Rancho Amphitheater as a rental option for $84 per hour for a minimum of 6 hours, or $100 per hour for a minimum of 2 hours. These new options make both amphitheaters more accessible and easier to rent for smaller functions. The 10 hours was just too long, and so we want to give people a little more option. Any questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, do we market these amphitheaters to maybe out there somewhere for theater companies and things like that, so they know there is one in San Ramon? Like, how do people find out besides those that live in the city? to be able to rent these?
Well, in the performing arts industry, we're connected to them via the theater. So oftentimes if people are not interested in the full rate of the big theater, the 600 or the 90 seat, then the amphitheater would come into play. The Amador Rancho Amphitheater hasn't been on that list, so we're hopeful that we may see an increase. Okay, next slide. So we are recommending increasing our grass field rental fees by $1, which is in line with our current 8-year plan to bring San Ramon's field fees in line with other agencies in the Bay Area and help recover maintenance costs for fields. In addition, we're recommending that we increase the fees for rental of the synthetic fields, field lights, sand volleyball, batting cages, and storage by 3.8% and rounding to the nearest dollar. This is that plan we've had with the user groups to slowly get to where we're at the same rate as the other cities in the area. Next slide. So this fee is to reinstate the fees for the field and gymnasium scoreboard rentals. Years ago, we used to rent the scoreboards, and I'm not really positive why it stopped several years ago. However, we've had lots and lots of requests. We've replaced some of our scoreboards, so we would like to put those fees back for a daily use of 100 or monthly use of 400. And this fee, I think, will help offset cost of repair and maintenance to the scoreboards, but more importantly, it'll improve the quality of the games for the sports users. Next slide. We would like to recommend an increase for the Front Row and Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center technical theater staffing and house staffing by $2 per hour to cover the contract costs charged to the city by Venue Tech, our theater management contractor. This is for rental events. Next slide. So we would like to recommend adding a fee for use of the new permanent PA system at the Vista Grande room at the Senior Center of $75 per day. We had a temporary PA in that room before, and so this is the same fee that is charged for all the other permanent PAs, so it just lines this one up with the rest of them. Next slide. So as you know, pools are very costly to operate, both for maintenance, utilities, and staffing. Staff did a survey of local pool rental rates and are recommending several changes to the fees to help offset those costs. Staff are recommending using the same methodology used for field rentals to increase the hourly pool rates over the next 5 years, as well as to increase lifeguard fees by $1 due to potential increase in minimum wage. They'd also like to create an hourly water polo tank fee and using the 3.8% methodology for the remainder of the equipment rentals at the pool. Any questions?
Nope.
And finally, our final fee is to increase the hourly gym rental fees by 3.8% and add a gymnasium special event fee. Currently, special event rentals pay 20% of their gross revenue, and it's very difficult to calculate after an event has happened. We have to go back to the renter and ask for all kinds of verification of how many people they had and to figure out what 20% of the gross revenue is. So at this point, it's hard to do for both the rental and staff. So this new system provides a surety for both entities and eliminates unnecessary paperwork. And that concludes my fees.
Okay, anything else, City Clerk?
It is the recommendation for this evening is to set a public hearing on April 26th of 2022 to consider adoption of a resolution establishing the fees and charges for fiscal year 2022-2023.
Thank you. And if there are no clarifying questions, I'll open the public comment. Seeing no hands, public comment is open. If you wish to speak under public comment on this item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone. I don't see any attendees with their hands up. Are there? Go ahead.
We did receive one written comment from Jim Blicken's staff that was provided to the City Council for this item.
Yes, and I brought it up to her. Forgot it was earlier today. I did send it to somebody. I'm drawing a dead blank on it, but you all have copies of it at this point. I see no hands for the attendees. We have one written comment. It is available, copies to the public upon request of the city clerk. Still no attendees. Let's close the public comment and it's up for council discussion. And again, we're asked to move for introduction. Sabina Zafar.
Yeah, so I understand, right? As a city, we also need to charge fees to be running efficiently. With inflation, I just almost feel bad, but that's overall. I would love to explore possibly during our retreat how perhaps we can get some sponsorships on the scoreboards or things like that. And I know this is something we talked about during our last retreat, and maybe make it less costly for our residents to pay for some of these fees, and maybe have some sort of a partnership, public-private partnership, where we can reduce the fees and let our residents use these facilities at a better rate. But it's a long-term vision, something we need to talk about, but I do want to bring it up.
No, it's everybody's looking at it. I mean, you got to find other avenues. Unfortunately, I know tomorrow I'm looking at a 15% increase for one particular industry, and that's anyway. Anyone else before I ask for a motion to introduce the ordinance? I'm sorry, resolution. Seeing none, oh, what the heck, I'll do it myself. I'll move to introduce a resolution number 2022 next in line, establishing fees and charges for various municipal services for fiscal year 2022, 2023, and repealing resolution number 2021-58, and to set April 26, 2022 for a public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Perkins. Any further discussion? And we will bring it up at the retreat before then, I'm sure. I think anytime you do public-private partnerships, you're really got to discuss it. You got to find a way. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes, that's 5-0. City manager comments. Where is he? There he is.
I'm here. The only comment I'd like to make tonight is just a reminder that the goal setting for the city council is on Saturday, March 26th. So this coming Saturday at 10 a.m. at the San Ramon Community Center. And so the members of the public are invited, and I look forward to seeing the council there. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I actually have one attendees that want to speak to that. Call in user 1. You have some comments about the city manager's report?
No, I actually want to speak to the public comment.
Oh, good. Public comment is open then. If you have not previously spoken under public comment, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your phone. And we already have call-in user number 1 in. And I understand DG wanted to speak to something earlier, and I hope
Call-in user 1 spoke earlier.
Did she
No,
speak?
I did not. That was
Yes, she asked to pull 2 items and she spoke during public comment.
Item is agenda item. Public comment is for non-agenda items. Councilmember Perkins?
No, wait a minute.
Oh,
Stop. This is public comment now. I let you in because I thought you were speaking to city manager. But I understand Council Members Perkins, and you did speak before. You're in. Go ahead and speak. Take a minute or two. What is the issue?
The issue is, I would like you guys to please stop harassing and kidnapping my right as a public participant under the right that is afforded me by the Brown Act, that I have the right to pull a consent agenda item without giving you an excuse or any reason. I want you to please fire Attorney License, because he has been giving you poor counsel advice that is basically putting me as good as a communist Chinese in China. I have every right to pull consent agenda item, and it doesn't have to be done under public comment, which is for non-agenda item. This is ridiculous. You guys have been just really bullying me as a public participant, and it has to stop. It has to stop. And The reason why I wanted to pull 6.11 and 6.12 is there are no invoices. These are public projects. There need to be comparisons of different vendors. I did not see those in the reports. And therefore, you are encouraging corruption. And all these were passed under resolutions, which is a joke. These are spending that doesn't have to be a resolution. All you need is show the residents that they're properly, announced to the public. Everyone had a chance to provide their quotation. It was a proper bid, and you guys picked the best vendor. I didn't see that. I'm very concerned about 6.12, especially now Chief Stevens is going to leave. I am so afraid that the cameras you guys are authorizing to buy, and I know the purchasing agent, Hollis Tung, or Hollis, I know he's an Asian. I don't trust that. I am an Asian myself. Asians are very corrupt. I don't want these cameras to be used to harass me and bully me, a political dissident. I don't want my organs to be harvested. Now you guys are not going to respond to the alarm and the stuff. It is low priority. I can be raped inside my home, murdered, my organ harvested, and you have all those cameras. I don't even know where the servers are going to be. Is it going to be in Communist China? You did not afford me the opportunity to ask you those questions. I resent you, and I call you correct because you are not acting properly according to the Brown Act. Shame on you, especially you, Mr. License. Thank you.
Okay, DG, did you want to speak to, I know you put your hand up back for the, I don't, okay. We will close public comment then. City council members and mayor's comments at this time. Who wants to jump in with the first city council? I see a hand up, and who is it? Where are my council members? Oh, Scott.
Yep. Went to MCE board meeting, and the fiscal year for MCE is 1 April through 31 March. So we're just coming up on the end of our fiscal year. And we ended up, our projected will end up in the black by about $19 million, which is one of the smallest in recent years. And that was because there was lots of spikes in the electricity rates. We buy a lot of power on power purchase agreements that go out 10 and 20 years, but you can't do that for 100% of your power. You still have to buy some power sometimes on a shorter term. Our next year budget, our revenue for our power sales revenue is going to be $647 million. And our cost of is going to be about $500 million. Expenses, operating operating expenses will be about 36 million. And after we put some money into some capital funds and some low income programs, we should end the year with about $90 million net to our operating reserve, which will give us an operating reserve of $305 million. Our goal is to have at least 60% of our cost of energy in reserve, and we'll be almost there this coming year. So we have no debt. All of the employees' retirement programs are like a 401k, and all their retirement health is like a health savings account that is transportable. So MCE makes contributions to both their health savings account and to their retirement accounts. And so we have no outstanding debt. And so no outstanding debt and $305 million. Well, right now our in the bank is $215 million in the bank. So MCE is healthy. And like I said, we're all of our purchase agreements going forward are for green energy and storage. We aren't buying any, there's a tiny piece that we end up buying on the spot market, which often includes natural gas fired peaker plants, but that's a very, very small part of our energy consumption. Almost everything is greenhouse gas free. So that's my report. And I have tomorrow night is we have TVTC special committee meeting regarding the TVTC increase in rates and in preparation for the April meeting.
Okay, Vice Mayor Burrows.
Thank you, Mayor. Yesterday, I attended Santa Monica Historic Foundation monthly meeting. So the exciting thing is about they are bringing back members only speaker series. So if you are a member of Santa Monica Historic Foundation, you'll get a chance to listen to their speaker series, which they are going to publish pretty soon. Then another important event that is coming up is sheep sharing on Saturday, April 23rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Another important one is Oktoberfest. Yeah, it's too early, but Oktoberfest is the date they already declared as October 1st. And one more, my observation is that our Parks and Community Services Department, Brad Morris, he's really taking care of our Santa Monica Historic Foundation for all their questions and concerns, as well as we had like a very lengthy meeting. So thanks for listening to them patiently and giving answers. I appreciate that. On community side, I would like to thank our Santa Monica Police Department and our community for helping in finding 2 missing kids. We are very blessed to have both these entities, especially the community. They really stepped up. It's like every stranger, they just jumped in and searched for the kids. And in the end, we are very glad that the kids are united with the families, and it's a great relief for the family and community. So I would definitely like to provide special thanks to Officer Holland for continuously working with community volunteers, and Captain Carlson for your communication to community via social media, as well as thanks for taking my calls and giving me updates patiently. So thanks for all your great effort. Appreciate that. And on the community event side, we have a Holy celebration that is coming up at City Center on Friday, April 8th from 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. So hope to see you all there. Another one is about the first Santa Monica Children's Business Fair that is scheduled on April 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Central Park Media. So that is to build our youth to be future entrepreneurs. So that's the first ever business fair. So please mark your calendars, April 30th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Central Park. And then once again, just want to remind about sheep sharing, Saturday, April 23rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that's my update. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Armstrong.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Hudson. At the last meeting, I reminded everybody about at Forest Home Farms, they have the Saturday in the park, and there was one coming up called All About Bees that I was going to be at. I invited everyone to attend, and none of you showed up. But it was a great day, a lot of fun. And we taught well over 100 of our community members about bees and the importance of bees, and a little bit about beekeeping. So a fun day. And there's a lot of fun Saturdays in the park scheduled in the future. So check that out and get over there. On the 14th of March, I attended the Open Space Advisory Committee meeting. They reviewed the 21-22 annual report and also the 22-23 goals that will soon be coming to council. And they also talked about this year's Trails Challenge and some of the upcoming Open Space Advisory Committee sponsored hikes. Also on the 14th, I attended the Senior Center Foundation meeting. There was a lot of discussion about the budget and the current budget and the proposed budget for next year. They talked about encouraging registration for one of the biggest events of the year that they do, the fashion show and tea that for the community that will be on April 9th. And just encourage registration for that. And early bird kind of ticket sales will end tomorrow. And then on the 15th, I attended the teen council meeting, and we heard from April Rivero, like council did a few weeks ago, from the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse. She gave a briefing about the dangers of prescription drug abuse and fentanyl, and it was surprising, but many of the teens did not know about the dangers of fentanyl that were on the council. So that education program that they do is so important. They also reviewed their annual report, and I think we'll be seeing that at council soon as well. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, Sabina, you have anything?
Yeah, so I attended the traffics board meeting. So basically traffics is funded by Measure J, which is the school bus program for traffic mitigation in some of our schools. And they're starting their marketing for sales, for traffic sales for next year. And the mayor represents us from I think the county board, and then I represent the city on that. So basically they're trying to push out and get people to buy essentially passes for next year. The budget has been doing well. What the traffics has done is that while the schools were closed during the pandemic, we continue to pay the drivers and keep that, keep the traffics board running and keep the service running. So even though we were not having any kids go back to school and the buses weren't running, we were paying for the drivers and the service. So that allowed us to continue bringing traffics back once the schools did open and some of the COVID restrictions lifted. And it seems like, it's been a popular program, and they're almost at full capacity, and they're now selling tickets for next year. So hopefully we'll get that up. For the Arts Foundation, the Friday Foreign Film Series continues. This Friday is going to be the last in Doherty Station. So if you guys are not doing anything on Friday night and want to come out and watch a Friday foreign film, come and join us at the Doherty Valley Theater. And Brad, again, is helping the Arts Foundation as well. And a key part of that group. So other than that, yeah, again, adding to what Vice Mayor Sridhar has said, we did have 2 kids missing. Well, they ran away. And so thank you to the entire PD and Chief Stevens and our detective for bringing them home safely and reuniting them with the families. I would also say this is a warning to all San Ramon kids: do not run away, because we will come and find you. So just, on a happy note that these kids are now reunited and back. With that, that's all I have to say.
Oh, it's going to be hard to follow that one. Yeah, that traffic is up to about 1,250 passes. We're trying to come up with some incentives to get to about 1,700. This is the best congestion relief thing I've seen around town since I've been on planning or city council. I was absolutely amazed that I could move on Pine Valley on the first day of school, the first time they put traffics up. I mean, you used to have a line of cars virtually from Broadmoor on Pine Valley. Back then it was a middle school, I think. Maybe we're still intermediate. But all the way back to Delmar, even beyond, you couldn't move down Pine Valley. And the first time that we put this program together, I turned left onto Pine Valley and there were 3 cars in front of me at Broadmoor. That kind of success can't be duplicated. And that's what traffics is. It's not a school bus program. It's a traffic congestion relief program. And we spread it throughout the city. And I'm just hoping we can keep it going, because I'm hearing all kinds of things about you got to get renewable energy on these buses. So we'll see where it goes. I wasn't at the last meeting. I was back in Washington, D.C. at the APTA conference. Very interesting panel with Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. He definitely caught my attention in that he wants to see these trains like BART getting to the airport. You know, you've seen that we extended it into SFO. We did the little, whatever that is, to Oakland Airport instead of the $3 bus. And I was pitching it, and I think we're going to continue to pitch it at MTC, that our Valley Link project takes you virtually to the door of Stockton Metropolitan, which is now serviced by United. So I don't know if it's tomorrow morning. We at Valley Link have hired Scott Haggerty to be our consultant into MTC in the Air District, and he tells me that they're not making that a priority. I think a lot of people are worried it's a San Joaquin project. It isn't. It's a Santa Clara project. It's Alameda and Contra Costa. The people that are buying out there are in your industry, Sabina. and they think they're going to be able to zoom over that hill. If they can't, 580 will shut down completely. So TBTC, know what we know as the cities and the 5 cities that Tri-Valley. Valley Link is the single priority, and then Innovate 680. The Air District has had 2 retirements, our equivalent of Joe Gorton and equivalent of Martin License in the city. Both have left the Air District at a time when we're about ready to do some rules and regulations to go to that appliance regulation that I told you about. You're not going to see natural gas get certified on this. It's going to happen quick. Berkeley just parroted what is happening at the state. A lot of things coming down the pike. A lot of it has to do with money, but we are not going to have another $1 trillion bailout. So we better take advantage of whatever transportation money is coming this time. And we're all going to see it happen quick. So keep your eyes and ears open on your committees, and any way we can get it, let's get it. I'll leave it at that. We are now going to close session, convene to close session pursuant to Government Code 54957.6 for City Council to meet with city negotiators Joe Gordon, Martin License, and Kelly Sessions concerning labor negotiations with the Service Employee International Union, SEIU, Local 1021. I will ask if anyone in the public would like to speak before the council adjourns to closed session. I see we still have 8 attendees, so the public comment is open for the closed session. Caller in user number 1. She coming? We have call-in user number 1 that wants to speak to closed session.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is about the closed session. Oh my gosh. You're going to be negotiating with international workers? Okay, these are not Americans, right?
Yes, they are.
Then why are they international?
That's the name of their union.
Okay. You can say whatever, but I know that these are not, I don't believe that they're Americans. And whatever you negotiate, I know you will be going with the diversity and, woke flow. And I just want to say that it is a very, very sad reality that we live in. Our country is no longer governed by law and order, but by public opinion and the tidal wave of wokeness. So sad. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, public comment of this is closed. The council will now adjourn to closed session. And I believe you have the new, is that correct, Christina? We have a new one. Get out of this one, go into the new one, and then come back. So we will see you there in 2 minutes or less. Okay, we're returning from closed session.
Christina, you might want to stop sharing your closed session screen.
This is a different meeting, right? So.
She just popped on, I believe. I will go check.
And we got a quorum, so we don't care. We're good.
Probably on YouTube, you're seeing this screen and not us.
The city council has convened to close session. Tell me when.
I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Well, are we
I'm
on?
ready.
You are on. You're always on.
City council reconvenes in open session. I have a report out on the closed session. The council has given direction to the city's negotiator and has nothing to report at this time. If there's nothing more for the good of the order, I'm not going to put this to a vote. We are adjourned to the next regularly scheduled meeting to be held on April 12th, 2022. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
In person?
In person? No, we're not in person yet. No, I don't think so. are we?
April, yeah, we're in person.
April
The
12th.
workshop will not be in person, but the regular meeting will be in person.
Wait,
and
wait.
Workshop?
There's a
No.
workshop on the 12th as well.
Oh, that one.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll figure out something.
First budget
All right.
workshop.
All right, so I'll be, wait a minute, I'm going up here to attendees, so I make a special invitation to Jim Blick and staff to show up on April 12th. Because he's coming. Anyway, good evening, folks. It's been wonderful. I'm going back to the APTA conference. It's easier in these meetings.
Bye.